everyone. I agree with Zelensky. Again, don't do this often, but he's right. No negotiations, no agreement can be reached if somebody trying to negotiate a peace between two parties is only talking to one party and is clearly preferring one party. And that's the party that did the invading. Remember that? Yeah. This was surprising. China's demand for equal participation for everyone, and not just for Ukraine, but also for the European allies. So what I'm wondering is this, whether we are seeing some interesting politics driven by economic considerations playing out. To remind everybody, some months ago, the idea was being circulated as to whether China could be the mediator between Russia and Ukraine before Trump came blundering in like a bull in a china shop. Pun totally intended. So there were other countries on that short list in addition to China. India was mentioned, Turkey was mentioned, Arab Emirates were mentioned. So now China is in an interesting position. China, I think, is sore with Trump right now because of several things, TikTok being one of them. Another one being the tariffs, and I think that's a bigger consideration. The tariffs that Trump is threatening and implementing that may actually hurt Chinese economy. So China said, you know what? Fuck you. And I have been warning about this. China has its hand in a lot of different pies. It plays bedmates with a lot of different people, including Russia. So, before you step on China's toes, think carefully. Of course, that is something that Trump is completely incapable of thinking of, so here we go. I don't often agree with Chinese government, but I agree with them now. They are absolutely right. Europe's role is crucial in peace talk because, again, let's all pull up our maps, look at Russia, look at Ukraine, and look at Europe. Yeah, China is right in this respect. Yes, they support the efforts to end the war. Well, that's just a logical thing to do. And look at that last bit. China wants to enhance its strategic interactions with Europe. This is huge. So, let's process this because there's a bit to unpack there. So, U.S. introduces tariffs against Chinese products. At the same time, Europe recognizes that for the first time since World War II, U.S. it's no longer its ally. In fact, it can become an enemy at like any moment now. In comes China and says, you know what, EU, I get you. I get you. Let's talk. This is very, very important. What this tells us is that China, in the face of economic warfare unleashed by Trump, is basically saying, well, fuck you, United States. Your former friends over here are finding themselves at a loss and defenseless. I'm gonna go talk to them and see if we can form a united political and economic front against you. Had Trump had anybody smart in his administration, they would be screaming and stomping their feet and pulling their hair out right now. But since he doesn't, they probably just dismiss this as a ticker item. But the rest of us should be thinking about this. And the problem continues with the fact that, like Trump's Vice President Vance has no specifics to give us. He keeps saying that he has extremely broad range of options, from economic tools to military tools, that he could use as leverage to talk with Russia. Can you be more specific? When he talks, it's just demagoguery. Look, they're instruments of pressure, absolutely. And if you look at President Trump's approach to this, the range of options is extremely broad. What does that mean? And my question remains, why are you talking to Russia ahead of Ukraine, considering Ukraine is the injured party here? And why do you want Ukraine to give up its territory to Russia? What you should be doing, if you do indeed have a broad range of tools, what you should be doing is talking to Ukraine, forming a united front with Ukraine, and then telling Russia to fuck off. But you're not gonna, because you're assholes. And here's another very telling bit. So when asked if he viewed Ukraine as an equal member in peace talks, Trump didn't reply directly. He said it was an interesting question. No, sweetie, that's a yes or no question. And the answer should be obvious. The answer should be yes. In fact, Ukraine should be given priority since, once again, a reminder, it's an injured party. Meanwhile, again, Pete Hegseth repeatedly refused to answer what will be the disadvantages to Russia. What will Russia be sacrificing? What will Russia be giving up if they agreed to peace? So far, all of the ramifications fall on Ukraine. No NATO membership, no getting its territory back, no guarantees. Oh, fuck that shit. Ukraine will just keep fighting the war. And Zelensky is, I think, kind of following China's lead and said, okay, folks, we're on our own. US had betrayed us. Screw that. We need a joint European military force. And he had offered in the past to use Ukraine as a kind of military lab to develop new weapons, to test new weapons, and to train the troops to basically become more familiar with the modern warfare, which has changed just as a result of the last 3 years. So, Europe should listen. And yeah, Zelensky is being specific, unlike Vance. Zelensky says, okay, we want guarantees. What are we getting out of this? Because once again, remember, we just talked about this a minute ago. So far, Russia is the only one who's getting something out of it. And here's the thing. It can't just be a handshake agreement. No. No. It has to be something enforceable. And how the heck do you enforce this? We already know that, like Putin, Trump doesn't like to keep his promises. He's known for, skipping out of town before paying the bill. So, that's something everybody knows. So how do we make sure that whatever is agreed to, whatever is providing that security, is enforced? And he's right. Zelensky, once again, is right that he will only agree to meet with Putin after a common plan is negotiated. And you can't have a common plan unless everybody's involved, and that means Ukraine. And once again, Vance is just engaging in demagoguery. He says, we want the killings to stop. We don't want the kind of peace that is going to have Eastern Europe in conflict just a couple of years down the road. Well, sweetie, do you realize that what you're proposing now is exactly that kind of peace? That if you bow down to Russia and give them 1/5 of Ukrainian territory, then you're absolutely looking for a conflict with Europe a couple of years down the road. The last but not the least, in all of these conversations, does anyone remember this? And this. And this. I want to remind everybody that Ukraine did not start this war. It did not provoke Russia. So why is Ukraine being forced to capitulate?